Coaching Catalyst podcast. And today we are joined by Jackie Lawrence, who is one of our expert coach supervisors in the Coaching Catalyst Supervision Collective. So we are going to go straight into the conversation. I'm joined today by my friend and co-host, Sarah Bramall, and we're going to go and say hello to Jackie. So hello, Jackie, welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you for being here with us. It's been a while since we've been trying to get you onto the podcast, so we're really grateful to be sharing the room with you today, sharing the mic with you today, and learning all about you. So I guess let's just jump straight in, Jackie. Let's introduce you to the podcast community, and please do tell everyone a bit about you and your coaching and supervision background.
Absolutely, sure. So I'm Jackie, as you know. I'm an ICF PCC coach. I am a mentor coach and a coaching supervisor. I do a bit of a mix. So I do love variety. So in between that, I'll do some public speaking, I'll do a bit of co-training. So I do a bit of a mixture of bits and pieces. In terms of, how did I get here? Right. It's been an interesting journey for me. I've come from a background in law. So prior to coaching, I worked as a banking regulatory lawyer for over 15 years. But my interest in coaching stemmed way before that. So when I was doing my A levels, I did psychology and sociology and English and a lot of those kind of people subjects, so to speak. And I absolutely love psychology. I think the issue for me at the time is I really didn't know what to do with it. You know, when you're kind of thinking of careers, I was just like, I really don't know what to do with it. I don't know, should I do a psychology degree? I remember my mum saying to me, what are you going to do with that? So I really didn't know. So I kind of almost fell into law in some respects. I mean, I was enamored by all the glamorous programs that you saw, you know, Annie McNeil and all those when we were growing up. Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's like what law was going to be like that. It's not like that in real life, but you learn as you go along the pathway. And during my last role at the organisation I worked at, they allowed you to do a secondment, and I did a secondment to another team within the bank. But the great thing about it, because of the way how they worked, I had sort of peaks and troughs. And in the down, I was like, well, what am I going to do? I have a love for learning. What could I do? And I'd always sort of investigated and been curious about coaching. And I thought, I'm going to go out there and use this time now that I've got a little bit more time on my hands at the weekends to study and do things, to do a coaching diploma. And that resulted in me finishing that in time for when my secondment finished. Then I went back and I still had this kind of urge to do a bit of coaching on the side. Sometimes people call it a side hustle, right? And we do it alongside our daytime job. And eventually I got to the stage whereby it was really becoming difficult to maintain both my daytime job and working as a coach on the side. And I thought, do you know what? This is an opportunity here. And I thought, either I'm going to take that leap, and sometimes we have to have that courage to do what our gut instinct's really telling us, right? And I thought, either I'm going to take that leap. And I thought, what's the worst that can happen? And I thought, I've been in my career for long enough to be able to take a year's sabbatical. If it doesn't work, I'll go back. And that's how I ended up. It took the year out, and the year turned into 2 years, despite the fact that when I actually left, it was about 6 months, and then COVID hit. And I was absolutely panicked. I was like, what have I done? You know, because new career, and the whole world systemically, everything was different, right? But I was quite fortunate. I got an associate role, and that really kept me ticking alongside building my coaching business. As a result of that, here I am today. So still love it, still do not regret making that shift at that point in time. And I think a lot of those challenges during COVID, working with a lot of coaches who are either in the leadership space or career in technology, there was a lot of up and down going, and a lot of people having to pivot. A lot of people, as we know, were losing their jobs, and really it offered me the opportunity to support some people who were going through some of the toughest times in their lives. Their livelihoods were like just been turned upside down, and with short notice people were losing their jobs, and I'm supporting them with how could they pivot and understanding their transferable skills and what could they do next, and helping them to leverage their strengths and their values, and making it into a new career. So that really, really cemented my love of supporting, making a difference for people in their lives, and actually seeing it in action during COVID.
Oh, Jackie, I just love hearing your story and your journey into coaching, because it's always so fascinating to hear what people, what brought us into coaching, and how that happened. And there's so much resonance with what you shared there. I think I remember somebody saying to me as well, because I too kind of stayed in the day job and then started my coaching practice. And I think somebody said to me, you'll just get to a point where you just can't do both any longer. And I see, same for you. And I was like, okay. And when I got to that point, I was like, oh yes, this is it. I've got to go. This is it. I've got to, as you said, take the leap. And I too, so I had started my coaching business around 2017, and then I'd left teaching in sort of August 2019. So started my business full time September 2019, and then of course, 6 months after that, we had COVID. So I was very, very much in a similar sort of position to you. And you're absolutely right. I mean, it was very, very challenging for all of us, and people, as you said, navigating things they'd never navigated before. And yet it did create opportunity. And I think we've been very fortunate that with so much going online as well, in many ways it was a great opportunity. So it's great to hear your sort of your background and experience in that area. And can you tell us now then about what took you from coaching into supervision?
Oh, that's an interesting one, isn't it? It's coaching is something that, I've loved and I've dabbled in, and I enjoy learning about different models, different tools that we can use. But I think there came a point in my time, in my sort of coaching, if we want to call it career, I just thought I need to do something differently. Need to really stretch. And that was my word for that year. It was stretch. And I was thinking of what are the different ways I can stretch myself. And supervision felt like an overstretch, I must admit, at the moment. And there was somebody I had been working with, and they kept kind of floating, have you thought about supervision? I was not ready for that yet. And then I thought, well, when are you ready? Because you always sort of think, well, maybe when I've got 10 years under my belt, and maybe when I've got this massive inflow of clients, then I'm going to be ready. But actually, you're ready when you want to make yourself ready, really. And I thought, you know what? I could do with this stretch. I need this stretch. Let's put myself up for the challenge. I've chosen the word stretch. Let's make it a reality. And that I signed up, and that was it. And I'm really glad I did it when I did it, because, life happens. And I think initially I'd signed up for January, and I was thinking, oh, I'll wait until they'll do it again later on in the year, June. And my initial thing was, I'll wait until June. I'll wait until the winter months go. But of course, life can get in the way.
Yeah.
And there are very personal things that happened, which with hindsight, I think, had I waited, I would have said, no, I'm not ready for it now. And I would have deferred again. So I'm really glad there's something about when your gut instinct tells you to strike and move and shift, you go with that flow. And I ended up in working with the most wonderful group of other supervisors. It was a lovely cohort that I'm with. I'm still in touch with, I'd say, virtually all of them today. It was such a lovely group to develop, to learn with. It stretched me in ways I didn't expect, but in beautiful ways. Enabled me to see things through lenses and perspectives I wouldn't normally use, and many of us sort of now use and become familiar with things like Hawkins 7i models and things like that. And these are things that I wouldn't have used in my coaching world. So I think, the lens with which it allows us to come with is much broader and deeper. And the connections that it's enabled me to make with my clients is, again, on another level. That trust, I think, that you develop and you gain from working with people with that supervision lens, being fellow coaches, but also acknowledging that there's not a hierarchy. It feels so different, whether it's in a group setting or one-to-one. And I just really love yes, it's connection, it's collaboration, but I think it offers the opportunity to be compassionate. Because as coaches, we can often say to others, be kind to yourself. but forget about the need to be kind and compassionate to ourselves as supervisors as coaches. So I think it teaches us and it reminds us, while we're emotionally supporting others, let's not forget about ourselves, whether we're sitting with that coach hat on or whether we're sitting with that supervisor hat on. So it's opened up a whole new world in a way I didn't expect. Actually, it's developed me much better, connected me, I think, with more people on various levels, in a way that I could not have anticipated, really.
I'm really excited by all of what you've said, because I think that it will serve a great reminder to not just us coaches, but those who are also considering stepping into supervision, because I resonate with that, and I'm sure Sarah does too, because it wasn't really on our agenda to become supervisors when we became coaches, and the opportunity presented itself to us, and we were like, okay, we're curious. Let's see what it brings. But there could have been a moment too of if or maybe or not now, and I'm definitely that person. I'm an overthinker, Jackie. So I probably would be like, oh, I'll start it when, and I see and I hear that a lot in other coaches. I will start supervision when, or I will become a supervisor or a mentor coach when I've done this and if I am at this stage. So I love that you just went, okay, sod it, let's just jump straight in and see where it takes you, and look where it's taken you, because what I've heard from there is you've built some great relationships with your cohort, and I'm already seeing that in our first cohort of our supervision diploma now. The connections between those supervisors in training is just so beautiful to see. So Sarah and I still have the same connections with those that we trained with, Phyllis being one of our supervisors, and Dawn and Nicola, and all of those. So yeah, I've heard that. I've heard connection. I've heard it's developed your practice as a coach as well. Yeah, you've stepped out of your comfort zone. You've got into that brave world.
Me, I've done a lot more. So I've kind of opened my eyes to be more creative with coaching as well. So, I sort of love working with metaphors as it is, but it's also encouraged me to do more things with, I did a adult Lego coaching course, so adult Lego for coaches, and it's made me feel, well, why don't I? So evoked that kind of awareness of why am I not using these tools more, and really given me, I'd say, the courage also to try things differently in my practice. Whereas I didn't, oh, well, just maybe. But now I'm being more intentional about using some of these tools and these strategies, depending on, whether my supervisee or my client's open to it. But a lot of the time people are, when you introduce these new things, they're very much of, oh, yeah, let's see where that takes us. Let's see where talking about these metaphors, these images, really opens up my thought process. So definitely it's given me that. And it's allowed me to collaborate with people who didn't think I would go out and reconnect with. Much later on down the line, you meet them earlier on, and as we all develop, you reconnect and talk about, yeah, should we collaborate on something? So opportunities, as you mentioned, Rebecca, lots of them coming up.
Lots of them. And I guess now the opportunity to be on our team, which we're really, really grateful for you joining our team of associate supervisors, and the breadth and the depth and the experience and the knowledge that you bring. So you joined us about 6 months ago, and we're coming to the end of your first cohort and excited to start the second cohort with you in the new year. What is it that you love, though, about supervision in the collective and offering that for the supervisees?
Oh, that's a great question, Rebecca. It's supervision in the collective. It's not just about supervising, the supervisees and the coaches that come in, but it's also the collective as a whole, the other supervisors. It's absolutely a lovely environment. It feels safe. Both, I know that we as supervisors encourage and make that psychological safety for our coaches that are in our cohort, but that is mirrored and replicated in the coaching catalyst at the upper level. So, you know, when you all put the team meetings on, when we come together, it feels very much an equal platform where we're all sharing our thoughts, our ideas, what's coming up for us. You know, I know somebody shared a poem last time, and nobody's like keeping things close to their chest, right? We're all kind of putting things out there to support one another in how can we be better at what we do. And I really love that about the Coaching Catalyst. And in terms of the cohort I've worked with, it's been absolutely lovely. You've got a bit of yin and yang because the energies are different, but it's what makes it really beautiful, very engaging, very warm. Create that warm environment as well as that safe environment. And what's been lovely is how they have opened up so beautifully quite quickly. They've been willing to share their strengths, their vulnerabilities, their what they want on the horizon next. And it's been lovely to see them really blossom and bud over these coming 6 months, just seeing from where they started to how they are now and how they engage with each other. And I have, you know, the word that comes to mind is also collective. So it's collective in terms of at the top, but also collective in the way that we operate within my supervision cohort, with that encouragement as well, because it's also about what does our supervisor, what does that coach need in the session? And sometimes it's challenge, but sometimes it's encouragement. And sometimes it's that helping them recharge and work out what can get that emotional energy, recharge yourself again, and what can we do to support you in getting that. So I think it's that reminder of, yes, it's a place where we can bring our ethical challenges. It's a place where we can talk about what's coming up for us as coaches in terms of possibility, assumption, and biases. Yes, it's a place where we might do a bit of a honing of our coaching skills. But it's also a place to celebrate. And I remind them and often start with, what do you guys want to celebrate? What's been going well? And sometimes we need cheerleaders in our corner when things are going well for us, and not necessarily to hide it and feel embarrassed about it. So yeah, champion when people are going well. And I often say, you know, something's going well for you and you want more of that, you know, let's bring that to supervision. How can I get more of that in my practice because it's going really well? So it's all of that, and on top of kind of putting it in a, how should I embody it, putting it in a almost like a little basket, wrapped around it is our self-care. So looking after our own emotional energy, our physical, looking after ourselves physically, and looking after ourselves mentally whilst we look after others. So it's something that I often refer to supervision as, which is self-care for coaches, because that's what it is in a nutshell. It's looking after ourselves so we in turn can pour into others and help support them better. So.
Jackie, that is so beautiful. And there are so many different threads to what you said that really resonate. I'm just going to go to the last thing that you said, that supervision is self-care for coaches. And it's making me smile because we recently had another one of our supervisors and one of your good friends and colleagues, Nicole Freeman, on the podcast. And she said, supervision is therapy for your coaching. And I love that. I love that expression as well. I just want to go back to what you said a little bit earlier about the collective and how we operate together as a team. And I'm a huge believer in the fact that a rising tide lifts all ships. And I very much have that sense that we work together in the, you know, in the Coaching Catalyst. As yes, Rebecca and I are the co-founders, but we are also supervisors. We're also involved in the mentor coaching program. We're also delivering, we're training on the supervision diploma. And we're very much part of a team. And as part of that team, we're very much creating an environment in which we collaborate and we learn from each other, and we therefore grow together without any sense of hierarchy or competition, that we are doing it together. And I love that. And I think it's probably quite rare. But the reason I say that a rising tide lifts all ships is because when we have that opportunity to work together, you know, we just learn, and it improves practice for everybody. So I had the privilege of observing one of your supervision sessions recently as part of our quality assurance process that we've all been, we've all been observed within the last 6 months in our supervision, and we've all learned so much from each other. And I think what really struck me about being in the supervision space with you as an observer, two things that I really felt. One was your assurance, and and I don't mean that from a kind of an ego sort of lens at all, but your assurance in the way in which you held the space, created the space, as you said, managed different personalities and different dynamics who did blend beautifully together. And it was felt like a really supportive, really, really deep reflective space for the coaches as well. And also, Jackie, what really struck me about observing that supervision space was your deep sense of calm. So I just want to go to that next, if that's okay, because when I was there, I felt safe because I felt like you knew what you were doing, right? That assurance was very much there, but also because there was a real sense of calm, and I really responded to that energy. And I was like, oh, I really feel safe here, and I don't actually want to leave this room. Can I just come and live here, please, Jackie, in your supervision world? It was lovely. But how do you create that? Because that doesn't just happen. How do you, as a person, create that kind of presence?
Oh, thank you so much, Sarah. It was a privilege to have you observing as well. Thank you for that feedback. For me, it's all about coaching presence. It's that leading up to the session as well, the work that we do on ourselves. So I need dedicated time before going into a supervision session to just ground myself. And it can be, literally sitting down and doing box breathing. It might be listening to a bit of music to sort of shake myself off. And normally on a day when I'm doing supervision, I like to get out and go for a walk through the park. For me, there's something about connecting with nature that I feel helps instill calm within me. And that in turn helps me to be able to show up, because I think that's really important. How we show up often sets the tone for our supervisors. If we show up and we're flustered, I think it almost can get mirrored. And as you know, Sarah, with my session, there were some tech issues at the start. And so there was that real challenge for my supervisees, and it was just, I hope this wasn't going to disrupt the session. But it was like, okay, I need to maintain that presence, that coaching mindset, that presence of calmness, and reflect that back to them so that they don't feel flustered and they're able to maintain that. But there's sometimes I do some exercises, whether it's asking the coaches if they want to do a bit of grounding work, a bit of mindset work before we go into the session. And I do sometimes there's an exercise where I have a box or a container, and it's a bit of a metaphorical one. So I've got the box on my side and I get the coaches to write down all the things that's going on in their mind. So they do a bit of a brain dump at the start of the session. I say, write them all down on bits of paper and put them in this box, like physically. So I hold the box, they put it in the box. I'll close the box and I'll put it on the side of the table and I'll say, right, I'm going to look after all that stuff that's been going on in your mind for the session, and I'll give it to you back at the end of the session. So I'm holding all those thoughts so you can focus on the here and now and the present. And a lot of the time when I do that, a lot of people say to me, I don't want that stuff. But at the end of the session, I say, before you go, you can have your stuff back now. Take it. I don't want it. A lot of people are either like, I don't want it. And I had one person one time, because they never tell me usually what's in the box. And she said, do you know what I put in the box? I said, no. She said, my children. Which was interesting because it was half term and she didn't want them to interrupt the session. And they didn't. And it was interesting. But it also left me reflecting, how lovely that somebody felt able to trust me with such a precious thing as in putting their children in the box and keeping it on the side, and that having that belief they won't come and interrupt, and they didn't. And it often sets the session for people to feel focused on what they want to get out of supervision and supporting their other peers in the session.
I love that, Jackie. I'm trying not to laugh too much about the idea of putting my children in the box. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole world there, isn't there? But you're so right. It's so rare that we have the opportunity just to go, do you know what? This is time for me to think. I need to think deeply. I need to be deeply present with the other people here. And so what do I do to put all of that stuff aside? And I love the invitation. If you want it back at the end, you can have it back at the end, but you don't have to take it either. It's great.
Absolutely, you know, so it just helps to create that calmness and everyone being on the same page and the same level.
Right.
I feel like I need to come into Jackie's supervision space now, Sarah.
100%.
I'm going to gift that to myself next year. No, Jackie, do you know what I love about this is that what you are sharing there is a skill set that you've developed over time, right? We have to increase our awareness as to kind of what's working, what's not working, what do we need more of, what do we need less of, and you're kind of bringing that into the supervision space. And what will happen as a result of that is your supervisees will learn that approach too, which is why supervision is such a privilege, because we can share this insight that we have learned and accumulated over the years that we've been coaching and working in practice to support our supervisees in the development of their practice. So, you know, when you go into training to become a supervisor, I don't think you ever leave that training with your coaching practice being the same way that it was before. But what I'm really curious about is your experience of being a supervisee now. So I'm just going to flip you out of the supervisor's chair and put you into the supervisee's chair. What does that feel like for you, Jackie?
Oh, do you know, that feels like a real kind of unraveling. It's that opportunity to have someone really listen to me and be heard. It's that reflective space. I do reflection, but I think in supervision, it definitely offers me time to do quality. The quality of the reflection, I think, just deepens when I'm in supervision. There's something about someone just holding that space for you and also reflecting back those blind spots. Yes, sometimes we spot some of them ourselves, but just having, you know, my supervisor come back out and share some point, just mirroring it and then letting me come to that conclusion myself, it just feels really enlightening, and it feels it's serving my growth and helping me feel that, do you know, I'm gaining a lot off our supervisors. And I feel, yeah, while I'm also getting that emotional support, getting that support around things that might be a bit triggering for me or something I can't put my finger on. You know, sometimes we're working with a client, we're just like, there's something going on, I'm not quite sure what it is. And having that space, that confidential space, by the way, you know, and that's the important thing for us, you know, we hold a lot of sensitive information as well as emotional information for people, and it having that space where you feel 100% safe, psychologically, emotionally safe to be able to share that space. And I think for me, supervision definitely ticks all those boxes. It's the growth and the development for me as a person, learning from my supervisor as well. Having that space for me to, and I think some of the calmness comes from the fact that my supervisor's calm as well. Just such a calm demeanor. And when I'm in that space, I just feel, oh, okay, I can be calm as well, but also feel very able to share and be open and just put my thoughts and my feelings out there. And I get that challenge, right? That little kind of nudge to, you can do a bit more. Now that you've got to your supervisor, doesn't mean you can sit and plateau. You need to still keep growing, you know? And sometimes we can get comfortable, right? We get to that next level and then we get comfortable and it becomes what I call our comfort zone. And then we need to start that circle again, right? We need to then step out into that development zone and then our growth zone. And then it comes back round, because once we're in that growth zone and we sit in it for a while, we forget actually it's no longer growth zone, it's more of a comfort zone. So now we need to prod a bit more. And supervision offers all that in a way that mental coaching doesn't. Mental coaching is great and more for focusing on your honing those, developing and sharpening of coaching skills. And I know and appreciate not everyone that is part of the Coaching Catalyst is from an ICF background, but whichever background you're from, it can sharpen those, whether it's competencies or whether you're from an EMCC perspective, it can sharpen that, right? But supervision is that plus so much more, right? It's that whole holistic you, your skills, your client, your whole self-care, like I've mentioned before. And I get that myself, which then enables me to help support and pour that into the people I work with. So it's just such a privilege to have supervision. Never thought of it. When I first started, I was a bit like, oh, don't need it yet. Let's wait till I get X amount of clients, then I'll need it. But right now, but I definitely not. You can have that one client that's really, really bringing up a lot of issues for you, and you want a space where you feel safe and able to share confidently, and ethically, someone who will support you from an ethics perspective, right? Because sometimes there's things that we feel to do and we want to do, and it might feel right from a gut instinct, but is it ethically the best thing to do in the moment? And so having that sounding board, I think, is just so important when you're in the coaching world.
Because as supervisors, Jackie, thank you for sharing that. We're not exempt from having the support ourselves. That's really one thing that I want to highlight, is that we all are in receipt of supervision as well, and supervision of our supervision. Some people go, where does it stop? Well, it doesn't stop if you're working with people. If you're working with people, it doesn't end. And also what I love about what you shared there is about our confidence in our abilities as a coach, but also when we get to the point where we've gone, okay, we've stopped learning, we've stopped growing. And that's when we kind of need that accountability to go, okay, now what next? How are we going to continue honing our skills? Because we're never a finished article, are we, so to speak? So supervision doesn't have to be that you're doing a formal course or you're attending a workshop or a webinar or all of that. You could just be developing yourself through reflection, through challenge, which is what you're saying there, that you've been in receipt of as well. So yeah, I don't think I could be without supervision. And I think it's something that, like you, Jackie, I didn't know I needed it until I started. And also something you said there about you could just have one client, and that client could be the one that you need the support with. The narrative I hear is, I don't have enough clients yet, right? And I'm like, but you could just, like, same with you could just have the one, or you could be doing pro bono coaching.
Absolutely.
With no regulatory support as to kind of how that's going. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's been really useful, and I can see that we are coming towards the end of our conversation. I know, Jackie, we could be here all day talking to you, just as we can with all of our other guests, Sarah, can't we?
Absolutely. It's been such a great conversation, Jackie. Thank you. Before we close, you alluded to your lovely group that you have in the Supervision Collective, and we do have spaces in that group from January. And in addition to that, you have agreed to start a second group, haven't you, for coaches who are based in the UAE and the Middle East. So I would really appreciate just a little bit more context around that for anybody who's UAE Middle East based who might be interested in joining.
Absolutely. And I spend a lot of my time, and I know I didn't mention this in my intro, but I do spend quite a bit of my time between here and the UAE, mainly Dubai. And that's partly because I spent time working a bit in the region. And I've noticed over my time working in the region, supporting businesses that are out in the region, there are these nuances that we have to realize and appreciate when you're working with people who are mainly from an overseas territory. And with that, I want to really sort of encourage anybody else who's out there who might sort of think, well, I really need a group that just kind of, I feel like that supports and understands culturally where I'm coming from and the nuances that might come up for us, whether it's in the workplace or personally. I need that specific support. That's what this group will be about. It will be focusing on what are their needs and that cultural awareness. And as supervisors, I know most of us, particularly where we've trained, Rebecca and Sarah, we've been taught about cultural awareness and to be culturally aware. But I think with the whole sort of honing it, it gives time to really focus on what's relevant for people in that region. And I think one of the things I really enjoyed working out there was learning about those different dynamics and understanding some of the sensitivity. And we will contract in a way that works for them, in a way that everyone again feels psychologically safe to explore the topics that are coming up for them in their work, in whatever field that they're supporting and supervising people. And I just like, even Christmas, I'll be out there. So I'll be out there. I'll be connecting with a couple of people that I work with out there. So I still keep my hand in the pie out there, so to speak, right? Working with people in Abu Dhabi and working with mainly women in Dubai as well, and a few wider, got a client in Jordan, for example. So I keep my ear to the ground. I learn about some of the political sensitivities. I learn about the cultural sensitivities. I learn about the differences that people feel when they're working with expats. There's a lot of nuances that come up. And, the ground is open to be explored and to be discussed and to be shared and to be supervised in that kind of whole bubble.
Thanks, Jackie. We're really excited because, as you know, we've got a number of coaches in the collective already from the UAE, and we're really excited to expand provision in that area because the coaching industry in the UAE has grown very, very rapidly, right, in the last 10 years, as you will know. But supervision isn't really there yet. And so, for those of you listening, if you're from UAE, if you're from the Middle East, and you are interested in supervision and open to joining us, you are very welcome to do so, and you're welcome to join any of the groups, and Jackie's group may well be of interest. So thank you. Okay, we're heading towards the end of our time together. I know we could keep talking for much longer, but for those of you listening, we appreciate your time is not unlimited. So Jackie, as you will be aware, we have a tradition here at the end of our conversation of sharing 2 words that sum up what we're taking from the conversation today. So would your preference be to go first or to go last or in the middle?
Oh, can I be in the middle?
Oh, yes, great. Okay, so Jackie's going to go in the middle. Becca.
I will go first because I know on the last recording I put you first. So hit me with it. I'll go first.
Go for it, Rebecca.
Jackie in the middle and Sarah to wrap us up. So my 2 words today, Jackie, is you're calm. So I'm going to go for calm and really taking that from you today. And I'm also going to go for stretch, of something that you were saying there around stretch and challenge, stretch and calm. Over to you, Jackie.
Thank you. I'm going to go with collective because that really resonated with me in our conversation today. And I'm also going to go with presence. It's a bit connected to the calmness, our presence and how we show up and how we get ourselves into that sense of presence with our mindset and our being. Oh, yeah. So I guess it's over to you, Sarah.
Thanks. Do you know what? I don't usually go last, and I'm thinking it's actually quite hard to go last, isn't it? But thanks. So let's see what I can do with this. I'm going to go with the word resource. Because I think one thing I'm taking from our conversation, Jackie, is the way in which it's so important to resource ourselves so that we can be that resource for others. And I'm also going to go with gratitude. Just throughout the conversation today, it's made me reflect on the gratitude that Rebecca and I both have for you as part of our team, but and also for our wider team, and also for our community of coaches. So yeah, gratitude's my second word. Okay.
So that is the end of this episode. As you may know, we have an intake to the Supervision Collective each January and each July. So if you are listening to this at this part of the year, which will be December or early January, then doors are still open to either join Jackie or the other associate supervisors on our team to begin supervision with us. And if you're listening to this in the future, further ahead, then please do keep a lookout. The wait list and all the details will be in the show notes, and we look forward to welcoming you into supervision. Please do connect with Jackie. You'll find her over on LinkedIn as Jacqueline Lawrence, and we always look forward to hearing what your 2 words are. So do pop us a WhatsApp, and our WhatsApp link is in the show notes as well. Until next time.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thanks for